It is Friday, the 28th of May, 2021. And this is a different kind of video to the usual in that it's announcing an event, which itself is a different kind of event to the type that most of us are familiar with. In last week's video, in the mailbag section, I read out the excerpt of an email from a very good friend of mine who was saying that in the absence of any verifiable, tangible, measurable and positive play out into physical manifestation of the type of situation, the type of scenario that so many of us want to experience, what's needed to bring that about is a mass meditation exercise on a colossal scale. A lot of people get hung up on terminology. So some people might not be comfortable with the term meditation. They might prefer to refer to it as prayer or an intention exercise or a statement of affirmation or the application of your will and your intent to a situation. Either way, the concept is the same. And it's the notion that nothing occurs in physical manifestation until it's imagined by we conscious co-creators of our own experienced reality. A few years ago, I'd have had a problem with this concept myself, and I would probably have rejected it, as I know many real-world truther types that get hung up on this 3D reality and names, places, times, dates, that kind of real-world material, may have a problem with this concept and may reject it out of hand because it doesn't sound right. But I've done a lot of study, a lot of research in this area in recent times. I've also done a lot of work on myself in terms of trying to harness this dynamic and trying to manifest into my own experienced physical reality that which I desire, by getting my mind right, by getting my imagination and my will and my intent right. Just thinking about the work of the likes of Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and many other great teachers in this area. It's become very clear to me that we do create our own experience reality according to the level of consciousness and the nature of the consciousness that's applied to the situation. So the idea that we can bring about very real world change in this physical 3D reality by getting many, many people of a like mind, of a like intent to pool their consciousness, to pool their will and bring all that intention together at the same time. It's a very real thing. It just needs to be made to happen. A phrase that I've been very keen on putting out there in my public talks over the years is the one that goes, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? And I'm kind of applying that to myself. My mind goes back to something that the late Ian Crane used to say to people in the fracking community or anti-fracking community that he was a part of, and also his team at the Alternative View conferences. So Ian used to say, if you can think of a job that needs doing, it's yours. In other words, if you identify a role, don't expect somebody else to take it up. You've thought of it, you've recognized that there's a need for this to take place, so you do it. Who better than you? Why wait for someone else? So applying that to myself, I'm taking on the role of trying to bring together an absolutely colossal team of meditators, let's call them that, to bring their consciousness and their will and their intent together all at the same time to really turn around this situation that we're all experiencing. So I really think I'm the man for the job in that I've got around about 56,000 subscribers on YouTube now. Most of my videos get in excess of 20,000 views. I get thousands of pieces of correspondence every week now by way of emails and other types of messages. I know that I've got a big impact, a big reach, a big influence. So I want to use that to bring together large numbers of people in my audience to be a part of this exercise. The idea is that hundreds of thousands of us come together in imagining a situation where truth, freedom, and justice has been fully restored to this earth, and where lies and deception have by default crumbled and failed. So I've learned a thing or two about how these exercises are best achieved. And I used to get it wrong because all through last year I was expressing my own wish and my own will and intent to the universe, to the creator, for the downfall of the COVID scamdemic narrative. I was asking for all the lies and all the deceptions to crumble away, for Matt Hancock to go to jail and all this kind of thing. Whereas the universe responds to affirmative statements, positive statements, in terms of what you wish to see, not what you wish not to see. So instead of asking for the downfall of lies and deceptions, what I should have been asking for is truth and freedom to reign all over this earth plane, and for humanity to ascend to a much higher level of consciousness. And then by default, the lies and the deception and all the scamdemic BS has to have gone away, because it can't exist in that type of situation. Also, some tips that people who are very good at this sort of thing and have a very good comprehension of how it works have told me involve addressing the universe, addressing creation as if what you wish to see manifest has already happened. So you project your imagination to the point where it's a done deal. So instead of asking the universe to facilitate the restoration of truth and freedom, it's far more effective to make the statement that you are that you are grateful, that you have gratitude and appreciation for the fact that truth and freedom has been fully restored upon this earth. So you've strengthened and empowered your vision by imagining it already completed, and by affirming that to the powers that make this sort of thing happen. So this is what I want to try and organise. Anyone who's up for this, anyone who wants to see this kind of outcome, I would like us all to come together at a coordinated time and send possibly the most powerful accumulation of collective energy and positive intent out into the ether, out into the morphic field than has ever been seen before. Why not? Let's give it a shot. We don't have a whole lot to lose, right? But we have a whole load to gain. Now here's a neat little trick that I think serves as the cherry on the cake with all of this. We know that the dark occultists, the overlords, the so-called elite controllers, love to take sacred signs and symbols, and also numbers, and invert them according to their own sick, twisted, demonic desires. So they'll take something that is inherent to creation and bastardize it. You know, an example would be a pyramid. There's nothing evil about a pyramid, but the way it's been co-opted and utilized by the so-called Illuminati, it's had evil and malevolent intent imbued into it. Same thing with the Eye of Providence, the Eye of Horus, the all-seeing eye, you know. That is neutral in its base state. It's not inherently evil, but it's been made to be so by dark occultists adopting it as a sign, as a sigil of what they stand for. So this same dynamic is available to all of us anytime that we want to tap into it. And instead of using signs, symbols and numbers to represent evil intent, we use them to express and represent positive intent, nothing but upliftment. So, a favoured number of the dark occult priest class is, of course, 666. It's the number of a beast or of a man, according to the book of Revelation, meaning that, again, it's not inherently evil in its base state. It has evil connotations because of the contexts in which it's been used. But 666 is available for light, is available for good, is available for positivity anytime anyone wants to use it. So how about this? We've got the 6th of June coming up quite soon. It's a Sunday this year. So the 6th of June is the 6th of the 6th. How about we hold this collective statement of affirmation, meditation, on the 6th of June at 6 p.m. UK time. 6th of the 6th at 6 p.m. 666. That translates as 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. for Europe. It translates as 1 p.m. for Eastern Standard Time in the US. It's 10 in the morning Pacific Time in the US. In Australia and New Zealand, it's the early hours of Monday morning, so might be a little inconvenient for some. But in most parts of the world, 6 p.m. translates into a fairly civilized time, I feel, for people to get involved in this. So this isn't going to be a UK-only thing. I want this to happen all over the world, but the time that everyone should synchronize to, I would suggest, would be 6 p.m. British summertime on the 6th of June, 666. Let's make this happen. I would like large numbers of people at this time to all come together and visualize truth, freedom, justice, love as a done deal. And as I say, within that kind of context, all the evil, all the lies, all the nefarious, scamdemic skullduggery has to go away because it can't persist in that state of consciousness. This is what I'm proposing. I'm giving people a few days' notice so that hopefully on the 6th of June we can really make this thing happen. And maybe this is going to be the event that brings some very tangible, measurable, real-world change. We've been promised so many other events in the 3D realm that are going to bring about our freedom, that are going to bring about the downfall of evil and deception. Maybe this is the one that's been needed. Maybe this is the one that we've been waiting for, and maybe this is the one that we can all be a part of. So that's my proposal. There are a couple of pieces of correspondence in the mailbag which tie into this. I want to read out a section of this message from my dude Joe Murray. Joe is a conscious rapper out of New York. You can look for his output on YouTube. Just type in Joe Murray there. Got lots of great songs. Very conscious artist. Really knows what time it is. Anyway, he wrote to me in response to this idea that I had outlined to him in an email. He replied to say, "Desperate times call for desperate measures, which I do 100% know has real energetic power." So he's talking about this idea. I even heard Mark Passio relatively recently suggest this. This, combined with the continuation of action through all forms of activism, has to manifest some change. He makes a very good point here. It isn't enough to only meditate, to only imagine a positive outcome. That's like praying or putting your intention out into the universe for, let's say you've got your eye on a particular job, which is your dream job. You really want to get it. Well, it's not enough just to wish and hope that you get that job. There's got to be some physical, real-world stuff that goes on as well. You're going to have to apply for it. You're going to have to fill in the form. You're going to have to attend the interview. It's a combination of these things. The physical, real-world stuff is needed in conjunction with the intention aspect. That's the distinction that Joe is making in his email. Getting back to it. There's a lot of people doing the boots on the ground, more physical work. Maybe we do need to incorporate the more spiritual, metaphysical aspect. There's probably so much untapped potential power just sitting there waiting for us to access. And trust me, I'm not usually on that kind of shit. though I do know it's real and I meditate occasionally. I focus more on physical action and the shit I can actually physically do to make change. Which, by the way, at this point, I feel like the only way out is a physical rebellion on a mass scale and defending ourselves by whatever means necessary. But I do feel something could come out of it. It could be a mass meditation for freedom and justice. It's about affirmation. People have to actually do it feeling as if it's already done. Just what I was saying. Like we've already achieved freedom and natural law justice has been served cold to these slime. That's what they do all the time. That's one of the reasons why the occultists write movie scripts the way they do, and why these people actually write down what they plan to do in documents, writing out the whole scenario, such as in the lockstep document, for example. It's a process of affirmation for them. So our opponents are using these spiritual metaphysical dynamics. They don't have the monopoly on them. They don't have the exclusivity. These dynamics are available for all of us to use, and we've not been using them enough. Another message to read out here. Somebody says, I heard you reading from your mailbag, and a couple of comments caught my attention. Firstly, the chap who spoke about being utterly frustrated and dejected by the apparent lack of positive intervention from benevolent forces in this ongoing battle. I have sympathy for his feelings, perspective and overview. I've been there myself many times, and it sometimes feels as if we're howling at the moon and that the universe is not listening or responding to our pleas and intent for humanity to see the planned destruction of our families, communities and our precious lands. Well, that's what the opponents want to achieve. In response, I would offer my perspective, opinion and understanding. Every empire falls, eventually. Entropy cannot be circumvented, and as each empire falls, the greatest upheaval, trauma and release of negative satanic forces are unleashed onto the people. The Irish have a saying which I believe is pertinent. The night is darkest just before the dawn. I feel we're nearing these times, and the cabal are throwing everything they have at us in a death dance of lunacy. Now is the time to regroup and double down on everything we're engaged in presently. So, what better way to set the scene for what I hope to achieve here in terms of this mass meditation, statement of affirmation, positivity exercise. The so-called elites do it. Time for us to be doing it. And by the very restoration of the values of truth, freedom and justice, their evil and their deception cannot continue. 6th of June, 2021, 6 p.m, British summertime. Let's make history. Who's with me?